For more, let's bring in the Heritage Foundation chief economist, EJ Antoni. Well, first of all, I was watching the World Series on Saturday, and boom, there comes the ad. I thought the ad was going to be taken out, but it said at the end it was courtesy of the province of Ontario. So I guess that's how Canada, the Prime Minister, can say, well, it wasn't me, it was Ontario. But the point is, it was a lousy ad. What they did was they took a little portion of a radio address from '87 by Reagan, suggesting that tariffs weren't a good thing. But the whole point of that radio address was to legitimize a tariff he was putting on against the Japanese on semiconductors. And then he also went on and complained that Congress was trying to take away his power to put tariffs on, which is exactly what Donald Trump is doing.
Right. And David, I think you weren't the only one who was surprised to see that ad, right? The president, as he said in his Truth Social post, was very surprised as well, because everyone else was under the impression that they had taken it down. They weren't going to run it again. They learned their lesson. Clearly not, right? And now I think the lesson that Canada is going to have to relearn is the fact that they need us a lot more than we need them. Right. And if you look at how our relative economies are doing, I think you can see that right now. What's their unemployment rate? About 7%. I think their last GDP report was negative. Ours was obviously positive. Not only that, the latest forecasts have us in the high threes for Q3. So I think overall things are doing much better on this side of the border. And if we also look at the relative export volumes, almost all of Canada's exports have to come here to the United States, right? Very few of ours actually have to go to Canada. And so if you do have any kind of trade war, if you do stop trade there, again, it hurts them more than it hurts us. It's not to say we benefit, but again, they're the bigger loser in this arrangement. Nothing
that President Trump is doing is in isolation. And so, I think to put a finer point on that, I think when I think of trade with Canada, one of the products I think is steel, and how much steel is flowing across the border. And right now we've got a 50% tariff on Canadian steel, and that's coming as President Trump is taking some really great strides to boost American steel making and to lessen our dependence on foreign steel. So I think to your point about how they need us more than we need them, I think that example probably bears it out. One thing that I thought was so interesting, as David mentioned, that this ad was coming from the Ontario province, led by Doug Ford. He's a conservative there, clearly not happy with the tariffs that have been applied to Canada. Such a different approach than another conservative leader taken, another conservative leader in Canada has taken, the Alberta Prime Minister, Danielle Smith, who has been on our air many times. I had the pleasure of going up to visit her and sit down with her. Alberta's an energy capital of the world. Her approach has all along been very collaborative with President Trump, does not want to inflame things. She realizes that he's coming from a position of strength. Just, your thoughts about kind of like the politics of that. You've got one conservative leader going the one way with this inflammatory ad, Danielle Smith kind of going along, and now it's kind of left up to Mark Carney to clean it up.
Well, Lydia, you bring up a great point. And I think it's that you need to watch what these people do, not so much listen to what they say. And that's, I think, how we tell who's really negotiating in good faith here. That's where it's really pulling off the mask. And you can clearly see President Trump's response to those different individuals when they are not negotiating in good faith. That's when we get the additional tariff slapped on, or that's when the president says, you know what, I'm not really up for talking to you right now. But whenever you do seem to have those leaders who are negotiating in good faith, that's when the president is ready to pump the brakes.
I got to jump in quickly because we only got 15 seconds. But meanwhile, the markets are going extraordinarily great guns. The China deal looks like they're making progress on that. That's, I think, what moved the markets today. Is that what's going on?
I think so, exactly, David. Every time it looks like we get a de-escalation in this fight, looks like we're getting better trade deals for the United States in place, markets take off.
Okay.
All right. Well, we like to see that.
Good
EJ Antoni, so great to see you.